Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Spring 2025 commissioning ceremony for Michigan Technological University's Army and Air Force ROTC departments. I, Cadet Michael Marshall with Michigan Tech Army ROTC, along with Cadet Corinne Tryon from Air Force ROTC, will narrate today's ceremony. As we begin, please welcome the official party. I would like to introduce those officiating this evening's ceremony. From left to right, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Zuniga, U.S. Air Force Chair, Department of Aerospace Studies, Michigan Tech Air Force ROTC, and Lieutenant Colonel Tide Guile, U.S. Army Chair, Department of Military Science, Michigan Tech Army ROTC. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of the distinguished guests from the university and throughout the community, families, and friends who are here to support our nation's soon-to-be newest officers. This evening begins a great journey for them, and it is important that you are here to share in this experience. Your presence is greatly appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing for our national anthem, sung by Cadets Corinne Tryon and Taylor Wenton.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated.
Good evening. At this time, allow me to introduce our guest speaker for this evening's ceremony, Captain Roger Bentledge, U.S. Navy, retired. Captain Bentledge graduated from Michigan Tech in 1968 with a degree in business and received his commission through the Naval Aviation Candidate Program in 1969. Since then, he has led a very distinguished 33 years of active and reserve service as a naval aviator, commanding at many levels and flying the EC-130 and P-3 reconnaissance and patrol aircraft. He retired from military service in 2002. He currently serves and lives in Michigan in the town of Marquette while supporting several nonprofit organizations. He also actively flies as part of the Uper Loopers competitive aerobatics team. Captain Bentledge.
Oh, you got my stuff up, thanks. Good evening. Thank you, Colonel, appreciate it. It's a pleasure to be back here in this capacity. Those lights are killers. I know there's people out there. A good friend, well actually when Colonel called me about maybe 2 months ago and asked me if I'd come and do this, he said, 5 minutes or so, and I said, okay, sure, I'll do that. Then I was up here for the Army awards ceremony, and I mentioned 5 minutes. He said, well, take as much time as you want. And I thought about that, and he probably was making a mistake there because I got a lot of years to talk about. At any rate, a very good friend of mine gave me some advice. He said, if you're asked to speak, keep it short. Your audience will appreciate it. And I know these young people over here will certainly appreciate it. You already know about military systems, importance of readiness, military strength, retaliation is the greatest deterrent to war, and all that kind of stuff. You've studied that. You understand it. If the deterrent doesn't work, then you fight to win. You know all those things, and that's not for me to talk about. But how do you accomplish those is a real trick. And I'm going to share some things that I was very privileged to have shared with me some years ago. There's two periods in my life that define me. One is my time here at Michigan Tech, and the other is my Navy career. Those two things were actually me. In the 60s, tech was different, a lot different than it is today. There were no handheld calculators. Personal computer wasn't even anything to thought about at that point in time. If you went to the bookstore, there was a long glass case with probably 35 or 40 slide rules you could choose from. It was a whole different ballgame. But it taught us the same thing that I think it teaches today. I know it teaches today. It taught us how to think, it taught us how to study, it taught us how to learn, and it taught us how to make decisions and accept the results of those decisions, whether they be good or bad. I learned some bad decisions. I love to ski, and if there was a good time at the ski hill on Sunday and I should take an exam on Monday, I sometimes went skiing. At any rate, we also have two sons, and they were here in the 90s. So my wife and I would come up here frequently and saw that tech really hadn't changed. There was new buildings, and there was new people and new curriculum and that sort of stuff, but the culture at Tech remained the same, and we're very pleased to see that. Both of our sons have progressed through that. We have one son that went active with the Air Force, and he's flying with the reserves out of Minneapolis now, so we've got some career. I tried to get him into the Navy, but I didn't succeed. At any rate, there was two professors that really stood out while I was here, and they taught me something that I didn't know they were teaching me at the time. And some of you that have been around for a long time, there was Dr. Barry in chemistry, and I heard somebody say something, and Professor Sam Tidwell in accounting. Both of those individuals loved their students. And those of us, me in chemistry, I was having a hard time, as were a couple others, and Dr. Barry would invite us over to his home, and we would spend the evening with him studying. Professor Tidwell did exactly the same thing. Though I loved accounting, I didn't love chemistry. So I got to actually help out with those study sessions at Professor Tidwell's. I graduated in '68. I got my first job in Pittsburgh in technical sales, $9,800. Yep, that was a really good job in '68. Gas was under 20 cents. Hamburgers were still 15 cents. We rented a great apartment, another guy and I, for $120 a month. We split that, so life was good. And I was ready to continue and take the world by storm. There was a bit of a conflict going on in Vietnam at that time, and there was a system called the Selective Service, commonly known as the draft. And if you were of a certain age, not in school, single and healthy, you were going to get drafted. And I wasn't at all opposed to the military, I just hadn't planned it into my career path, I guess. Excuse me. I was home in the holidays in '68, sitting with my father and bemoaning my situation, what am I going to do next? And he said, "You ever think about flying?" And I said, "No, I wasn't a kid that hung on the airport fence or anything." And he said, "Why don't you go down and talk to Commander John Boyd at the Naval Air Facility in Detroit?" So I went down there. He gave me a good pitch. He said, "I can't get you in, but I can get you in for the testing to make sure you're either not disqualified for some reason." So I went down there. And it was a good thing because I had been reclassified 1A, and once you get the letter back in those days said, greetings, you've been selected for service in the armed forces, and all bets are off then. That came 1 week after I enlisted in the Navy, so I was very lucky. I reported to Pensacola in March of '69 as the aviation officer candidate, as Colonel had mentioned. I met my first Marine drill instructor. Yeah, somebody knows. He was everything to us, and he to us, I mean, roughly 20 of, maybe 15 to 20 of us, and he let us know who was in charge. and there was never any doubt as to who was in charge. We grew to, I'll even say, love the man. I mean, he took care of us, he criticized us, he critiqued us, he beat us. He did everything that a drill instructor should do. I continued on through training. I got my wings in September 4th of 1970, but in between there, we were going through training, and in early 1970, the war was winding down. They didn't need so many more pilots and that sort of stuff. And 20 of us were sitting in the ready room, wanted to go flying. We'd already done our first carrier quals. I mean, we were tough stuff. We loved what we were doing. And the duty officer came in and said, "I got news for you boys." And back then it was all male. Thank goodness they fixed that. But I've got news for you boys. Anybody who wants to go home can go home. Really? I looked at Mickey Forrest, the guy sitting next to me, who was one of my wingmen when we went out to the boat. And I said, "I don't want to go home. Do you want to go home?" I said, "I don't want to go home either." So the rest of it was forwarded. Decisions and consequences. Obviously, if I'd gone home, I certainly wouldn't be standing here. I was, after my wings, I went to my first squadron, a reconnaissance squadron stationed at the Naval Air Test Center, Protection River, East Coast in Maryland. Great place to be stationed. Did a ton of flying. New officers, brand new silver bar at that point, because you get promoted, you're in flight training for a year and a half. Brand new silver bar, Lieutenant JG in the Navy, and I checked into the squadron, and the squadron's a little different in the Navy. They're all self-contained. They've got maintenance and training and admin and everything all wrapped up in the squadron, so you can pack it up and move it. So a junior officer gets a branch assignment. So I got assigned to the power plants branch in the maintenance. So I checked in down there, and these are where all the what we call salty guys are, the very experienced air crew and mechanics, that sort of thing. So I had my first adventure in there with a very salty senior chief, that would be an E8, and he sat me down politely, and he said, "These guys know their job. Our job is to take care of them." That sort of tied in with Doc Barry and Professor Tidwell. You know, he took care of people. So this chief, we became quite close personally on a working basis. And sometime during the next few months, I remember him well, ADJ2 Ross Coleman, he was a mechanic in the power plants department. I got a call from the duty office about midnight or so. Ross was in jail for drunken disorderly, and it was my job to go take custody of him. So I went over, I picked up Ross and Petty Officer Coleman, and he was a mess. And he finally figured out how to tell me how to get to his home, and I stopped in front of his home. "Is this your home?" "Yes." "Are you going to go in?" And he looked at me with very sad eyes, and he didn't want to get out of the car. And I said, "Do you want me to go in with you?" "Yes, sir, would you please?" He was scared to death of going in and facing his wife. We had a real pleasant conversation. His wife was wonderful, and she understood. Petty Officer Coleman became a stellar sailor. He was air crew. He was actually became my flight engineer for a period of time. He was extremely good about what he did, and he passed the information of his wrong decision on to others, and it worked out very well. You gonna throw me off yet? Not yet? Okay. Gonna get the hook here shortly. Our squadron was a very critical squadron. Our job was to remain the survivable downlink to our deployed ballistic missile submarines. Basically, they stayed submerged. We could transmit to them while they were submerged. And that was critical as the Cold War heated up, so to speak. We were given, another story here, those Air Force folks know that the Navy has almost no C-130s. So we had a squadron of 8 C-130s, and we were given a 24/7 job. They wanted one of our aircraft airborne over the Atlantic perpetually. And we said, "Yes, sir, okay, we can do that." And the Air Force said, "No way can they do that." We actually did it, and it lasted. I don't think we had a break in coverage for almost 9 months, which was absolutely amazing. But morale was stretched thin. Our squadron was really pushed to the hilt. People were deploying all the time. Families were, messed up. Everything was going wrong, and it was push, push, push. And I was walking. There was an upper level that looked over the hangar deck, and our commanding officer, you call him Skipper. Skipper was leaning out the window, looking out, and I kind of saddled up next to him, and we were talking. He says, "Can I ask you something?" And I said, "Sure," of course. Squadron morale seems to be bad to worse. And how come? And I said, "Well, can I speak freely?" Yeah, if you have to pat them on the back once in a while instead of always kicking them. And for the past year, we had been kicking. I mean, it was just nonstop. It was a lot of work. We were flying. We were in the air almost 1,500 hours a year individually. That's a lot of air time. So he took that hint, and he put us in for a meritorious unit commendation. It was awarded by a 2-star admiral that came in and applauded the squadron for what they were doing. There was an Air Force general in attendance also that made some comments, and it was just, morale skyrocketed. That same thread is going through here. Take care of your people. There's a little bit of funny in this one. There was an E3 that worked down in our paraloft. Oh, I'm sorry, let me fast forward again. I screened for command, and I was about to become an 05 or a commander in the Navy. I did command, and I selected to command VP 64 Reserve Squadron out of Willow Grove, north of Philadelphia. Checked in there. Squadron is normally made up of about 350 people. About a third of those are full-time, the rest are reserves. And you have your own aircraft. Everything is pretty cool. There was an E3 that had been busted from E4 down in the paraloft. It was aviator's equipment. He'd been a problem person all along, but always walking the edge. It was a beautiful summer day. He was leaning out the window of his barracks on the second floor. There was a couple of young teenage girls walking by, and he made some inappropriate comments. They weren't really bad comments, but they weren't appropriate. Now the funny part, that one of those girls was the daughter of the base commanding officer. So, by the afternoon, my presence was requested at the base commander's office. Fortunately, he and I had worked together before. I told him that I would take care of this thing properly. We conferred. I conferred with the branch chief. In the Navy, the chiefs run the Navy. They truly do. Officers do what officers do, and enlisted work hard, and the chiefs make it happen. So I conferred with the branch chief that in his branch, and he basically lacks discipline, control, needs a good wake-up call. So I convened what's called a captain's mast in the Navy. I believe it's Article 15 in the Air Force, and yeah, hopefully none of you ever have any experience in that. But it's not judicial punishment. So it's formal, and it's a wake-up. I sentenced him to 2 weeks in the brig at Norfolk. And this was something I discussed with others. That infraction was just a list of infractions, and it warranted a good wake-up. I personally put on a flight and put myself on as the pilot, and I personally flew him to Norfolk and then drove him to the brig. He wasn't realizing what was happening. He didn't understand the whole thing, but I did talk to him on the flight back. I got out of the seat and went in the back and was talking to him a bit, and found out he joined the Navy to escape whatever, his home life. He had to go someplace different. When we got to the brig in Norfolk is kind of a wrought iron 2-way entrance with a big metal brig over the top, and he said, "It's the brig." I said, "Yeah." And, he spent 2 weeks there. He came back. The chief came up to me maybe a week or two later and said he's a whole new person. Will it last? Who knows? Here's the frosting on the cake, I guess. My change of command was coming up. My outgoing change of command was coming up in a month or two, something like that. During the week prior to the change of command, he came up and he knocked on my door, permission to enter kind of thing, and sure. And I told him, stand easy. And he said, "I need to talk to you, and I want to thank you for what you did to me and for me." So, took care of my man. I would have never known had he not. chief, I left, he was still in E3, but I know the chief was putting him in for an out-of-cycle promotion back to E4 again. So the common thread, military strength and readiness is a function of people. You know, we're just people like anybody else. We have good days, bad days, happiness, sadness, all sorts of things. We have responsibilities in the military that are totally different than anything else that the human mind can comprehend, I guess. As your careers progress, you'll gain increasing responsibility over people. I know where you are now, some of you have had some experience, and that's commendable, and I am extremely proud, extremely envious right now, actually. I wish I was sitting over there, but I'm not, obviously. Let them know that you care. I'm not saying, you know, get rid of the discipline and everything else, but let them know you care. Gain and maintain their trust. It's critical, because sometimes you have to make them do things that they don't want to do or that aren't safe. And in turn, they'll take care of you. I don't mean they're going to shovel your driveway or you know, mow your lawn, but they're going to succeed in the squadron or the unit or whatever it is you're attached to. And that's how they'll take care of you. As you begin your journey, I'll offer the traditional Navy farewell and something we say, and when we leave someplace, you get a plaque with it on it. It's fair winds and following seas. So with that, I'm proud of you. I'm envious. I thank you. Thank you for all the support and guidance that you've given out there to bring these young men and women up here. And with that, I will say good night. Thank you.
At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga and Lieutenant Colonel Guile will present Captain Bentledge with the gift of appreciation. We will now begin the Army's portion of the ceremony. I'd like to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Guile to provide remarks about the commissioning class.
He's way taller than I am. Good evening, President Kobach, Dr. Storr, university, faculty, and staff, cadets, family, and friends of the 1st Arctic Battalion and the Guardians of the North. Captain Bentledge, on behalf of the 1st Arctic Battalion, I would like to thank you for taking the time to be here to celebrate tonight and this moment in the careers of these young officers. The commissioning of these outstanding young Americans tonight marks another chapter in the storied history of the 1st Arctic Battalion. The life these future officers have chosen to pursue is not going to be an easy one. Our nation and our Army asks and expects a lot of our leaders at all levels. You all have volunteered to enter a force during an extremely uncertain time in history. As national tensions and technology continues to evolve, so does the threats that our nation faces. And these new lieutenants will be asked to confront. History tells us we can only guess at what we think the next battlefield will consist of. One thing that remains the same is the next battlefield will require strong, well-trained soldiers and leaders to win the fight. The cadets sitting on stage are no doubt ready to face that known and unknown challenge of the future battlefield. The attributes, competencies, skills, knowledge these cadets have gained here at Michigan Tech has provided them the strong foundation needed to succeed in this uncertain future. Lastly, to the cadets, I ask you all to remember the passions and the family you have gained here at Michigan Tech, because when times get hard, when life gets stressful, having the ability to fall back on those passions and that family is what's going to help you reduce the stress and recharge the batteries allowing you to pick yourself up and move forward to win the fight. I'm extremely proud of each of you for all you have accomplished to get to this point, and everything I know you will accomplish throughout your careers. I wish you and your families all the best as you start the next chapter of your life. Arctic Warriors, lead the pack. Thank you.
As we prepare to administer the oath of office to our Army and Air Force cadets, we recall, under the direction of General George Washington, our first modern oaths of office were given to those serving under the Continental Army from 1775. The very first law passed by the U.S. Congress after the ratification of the Constitution was on administering the oath of office signed by President George Washington in 1789. The Constitution of the United States serves as the bedrock of authority and the responsibility upon which the oath of office is instituted. The oath of office links directly back to the Constitution and is the commitment that all officers make to service and leadership. Please pay special attention to the words as they are spoken. These cadets are pledging themselves to uphold our Constitution and defend our nation and its values. Following the oath, each new second lieutenant will have their rank pinned on them by their family and their friends. Each new second lieutenant will then participate in the time-honored tradition of the Silver Dollar Salute. The first enlisted service member who salutes the new second lieutenant following their commissioning receives a silver dollar, symbolizing the deep sense of gratitude for knowledge passed on to them during training. It is an acknowledgement from one professional soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, or guardian to another, saying, "Welcome to the military, our profession of arms." Cadets Destiny Klinkhammer and Cecilia Zaleski will have their oath of office administered by retired Lieutenant Colonel Colleen Klausner, United States Army.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office upon which I am about to enter.
Of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Second Lieutenant Destiny Klinkhammer will have her rank pinned on by her mother, Chris Fabio, and grandmothers, Darlene Fabio and Rita Klinkhammer. Lieutenant Klinkhammer graduates today with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. She is commissioned as an active duty quartermaster officer, and her next training assignment is at Fort Gregg Adams, Virginia. Also celebrating with Lieutenant Klinkhammer are her family and friends. Lieutenant Klinkhammer will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Klinkhammer will exchange her first salute with her grandfather, United States Marine Corps Vietnam veteran Lance Corporal Francis Fabio. Congratulations, Lieutenant Klinkhammer. Second Lieutenant Zaleski will have her rank pinned on by her parents, Robert Zaleski and Megan McKenzie. Lieutenant Zaleski graduates today with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. She is commissioned as a Signal Corps officer in the United States Army Reserves, and her next training assignment is at Fort Eisenhower, Virginia. Also celebrating with Lieutenant Zaleski are her family and friends. Lieutenant Zaleski will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Zaleski will exchange her first salute with Sergeant First Class Ariel White, United States Army. Congratulations, Lieutenant Zaleski. Next to be commissioned is Cadet Isaac Hine. Cadet Hine will have his oath of office administered by his brother, Major Dustin Hine, United States Army, Michigan Tech class of 2012.
Raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Isaac Hine,
Having been appointed officer in the Army of the United States
having been appointed an officer in the United States
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Hine will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Scott and Mary Jo Hine, and his sister, Alyssa Jo Hine. Lieutenant Hine graduates today with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering. He is commissioned as an active duty infantry officer. His next training assignment is at Fort Benning, Georgia. Also celebrating with Lieutenant Hine are his family and friends. Lieutenant Hine will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Hine will exchange his first salute with his brother, Specialist Jacob Hine, United States Army. Congratulations, Lieutenant Hine. Our last Army ROTC cadet to be commissioned is Cadet Christian Moutsatsen. Cadet Mountsatzen will have his oath of office administered by his father, retired Colonel Peter Mountsatzen, United States Air Force. Before administering the oath, Colonel Mountsatzen has asked if he could provide a few remarks to the commissioning cadets.
Colonel Zuniga, Colonel Gao, thank you very much for the opportunity to make some very quick remarks. And I have to say, this is way better than my experience here in 1988. It's a beautiful auditorium and ceremony. Thank you. As I was reflecting on what to offer to the cadets here in the thoughts of service, as I was reflecting on that, I kept coming back to an event that I experienced when I was a young major in the Pentagon. There was a day when I had to go from the third floor, or the fourth floor where the Air Force headquarters was, down to the third floor and to the Joint Chiefs of Staff office. And I was in the E ring, which is the outside ring, the power ring, wood panel walls, lots of mementos and signs of power of the United States. But when I was on one of the grand staircases that went down there, I stopped at the landing and saw a painting I had not seen before. And that became my favorite spot in the whole building. And that's because on the wall there's a large painting from maybe the 1950s, and it was of a humble family kneeling at an altar in the chapel at their base, with the light streaming in from the stained glass window next to them. And the father was in his service dress, and one could imagine that he was preparing to go off to someplace dangerous far away with his wife and his young son and young daughter. And affixed to the frame beneath the painting was a plaque with a verse that said, Isaiah 6:8, "Whom shall I send, and who'll go for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me." Soldiers and airmen, that is now you. So whether you serve 4 years or 40 in the armed forces, you are doing your country a great service in a time of need. In the coming years, you will experience adversity and sacrifice, no doubt, but you will also experience moments of victory, trust, friendship, and growth. So take some moments to truly absorb what's going on here tonight and tomorrow, because it's one of the most pivotal moments of your life. And that's what I felt 37 years ago here at the same place. So congratulations. And now, Cadet Mountsatzen, you're next, and that's the last time you have to be called Cadet Mountsatzen. Congratulations for that.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Christian Thomas Mountsatzen,
Having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States,
having been appointed an officer in the Army of the United States,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
in the grade of second lieutenant,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office
discharge the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Second Lieutenant Mountsatzen will have his rank pinned on by his parents, Liz and Peter Mountsatzen, brothers Nicholas and Jonathan, and sister Sophia Mountsatzen. Lieutenant Mountsatzen graduates today with a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science. He is commissioned as an active duty infantry officer, and his next training assignment is at Fort Benning, Georgia. Also celebrating with Lieutenant Moutsatsen are his family and friends. Lieutenant Moutsatsen will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Moutsatsen will exchange his first salute with retired specialist Isaac Dagner, United States Army. Congratulations, Lieutenant Moutsatsen. At this time, I would like to introduce Air Force Cadet Corinne Tryon, who will narrate the Air Force commissioning ceremony.
Good evening. To begin, I invite to the podium Air Force Attachment 400 Commander and Professor of Aerospace Studies, Lieutenant Colonel Ben Zuniga.
Captain Bentledge, it was actually really nice to have a sailor up here. It's quite refreshing. We're deeply grateful for you taking the time to travel, and we appreciate your presence here today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights with these young men and women who will soon take on the officer ranks, and some have already taken on the officer ranks of our military. You've inspired us all. Colonel Moutsatsen, thank you too much also for your words, very insightful. Start off by thanking President Kobach, Board of Trustees, Dr. Storer, Dr. Wolfenbarger, deans, faculty, and distinguished guests for joining us here this evening. I'd like to also thank the Rozsa Center staff, and a special thanks to Ms. Shannon Eddy, who always works tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event possible, so thank you. To the cadets in the audience, Army Arctic Warriors and Air Force Guardians of the North, thanks for coming out here tonight, and we look forward to your place here on this stage. A very special thanks to family and friends here tonight, those that have loved and have guided these men and women along the way. You really make this event so special. We thank you for making the effort to be here tonight, and we are honored to have you. At Air Force ROTC Detachment 400, we call ourselves, we are the Guardians of the North. Way up here on the Keweenaw Peninsula, we do our best to guard the traditions and seek vital innovation for our nation's air and space power. Air Force ROTC Detachment 400 was established in 1946, almost 80 years ago, making it one of the oldest and original 19 detachments in the country. Today, we're surging forward, fueling the Air Force and the Space Force with leaders with highly prized degrees from Michigan Tech. I will speak specifically to the 7 of you going into the Air Force today, but I know the benefits and necessity of joint military force. I am confident that all 11 of you will truly be effective officers and leaders in our nation's military. To those Guardians of the North, to these airmen that are commissioning here today and are sitting here on the stage, you've completed a rigorous 4-year program, and for 2 of you even stayed for a 5th year. It's an honor to share the stage with you. You've been thoroughly challenged physically and mentally, and your performance consistently ranks at the top of the nation. I've witnessed you grow, develop, and even learn from failure over the years. Look left and look right. I hope that the friendships formed here will last a lifetime. They have for me when I was an ROTC cadet, and I still keep in touch with my fellow ROTC cadets. You are all remarkable individuals, and some of the best leaders I've had the chance to meet and get to know in my career. Starting with the first right there, Cadet Franklin Cook. Hails from Hudsonville, Michigan, just outside of Grand Rapids. He comes from a family of service, namely his father, who we'll soon meet. In Hudsonville, he discovered a love for aviation from a very young age. The Air Force made sense, and so did Michigan Tech. After 5 years in ROTC, his evolved dream is to fly something no one else has flown before. If you notice in your programs this evening, at the beginning of this week, Cadet Cook was fully set to become a combat systems operator heading to Pensacola. However, 3 days ago, the Air Force decided to upgrade his dream to his dream job. He will enter active duty as a pilot, and we hope to find out his training base in the coming months. Next, Cadet Ezra Crandall is from Holland, Michigan, and he's the second oldest of 10 siblings. He pretty much decided when he was 16 that he wanted a career in the Air Force, and that Michigan Tech here at the Air Force ROTC program was the right solution for him. Talk about knowing what you want in life. He also married his hometown sweetheart, Zoe, about 2 years ago. Cadet Crandall has a passion for military service and how the military protects our freedom and our opportunities. I think he also has a passion for knowledge. With a very curious mind, he's always first to ask a question in class. And if I ask a question, he's often the first to respond and with more knowledge about said topic than I never knew. He also has a passion for, well, drones. Re-engineering them, operating them during most ROTC events, the topic of every one of his briefs in class. Sadly, he was recently diagnosed with cancer, but thankfully we expect a full recovery. We all hope he can soon get past this hurdle in his life as he pursues his career. Cadet Crandall has been selected to attend the Air Force Institute of Technology at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio to pursue a master's degree in electrical engineering. That is definitely not an easy school to get into, and I'm confident that he'll be highly successful in whichever way his career progresses. Cadet Jack Diedrich in the back row is from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. He grew up through a diverse set of circumstances, but with a strong family, all molding his unique perspectives and worldview. He has a passion for people and for computer science. Michigan Tech's robust program is what drew him here, and a potential Air Force career applying computer science skills lured him in. Through the program, he grew an appetite for serving his country and to lead others, even serving on Arnold Air Society national staff. Jack may not be the loudest person in the room, but he's certainly one of the most humble and has a very strong character. He has really developed into a steadfast leader. The Air Force is sending him to Keesler Air Force Base near Biloxi, where he will train to become a cyberspace warfare officer. Whether offensive or defensive cyber, this is a highly critical need for our military, and I know he's up to the challenge. Cadet Shannon Matson is from Elk River, Minnesota. She comes from a military family, including her dad, who is with us here tonight. She grew up to be inspired by stories from life in the military and the job security it provides. She was attracted to Air Force ROTC and to the outdoors the UP offers, but not necessarily to Michigan Tech. She joined our program as a cross-down from Finlandia University, where she enjoyed playing on the varsity soccer team. When the school closed, we thankfully managed to keep her here at Michigan Tech, and she has really blossomed in the program. I think of the Shannon Matson I knew 3 years ago to the person with us here today. I'm confident she would effectively lead through any unique challenge we throw at her and without complaining. She is learning Arabic language and has an academic passion for criminal justice. I'm sure she'll maintain those two focus areas as she launches her career. She will head to Vandenberg Space Force Base in California to train for nuclear and missile operations, which is one of the most critical missions in our nation's defense. Cadet Karis Quante is from out west in Parkdale, a town north central Oregon in the middle of the Cascade Mountains. Why Michigan Tech? Perhaps partly the outdoors and partly us luring her with an Air Force scholarship. Regardless, she had no idea where Houghton was, much less that Michigan had an Upper Peninsula. We'll just say that things worked out pretty well for her. here at Michigan Tech, and 4 years after packing up her car and heading off to the mysterious upper Midwest, she has earned an Air Force commission. She never imagined a military career at a very young age, but her interest in the Air Force started in 7th grade, and her little brother's interest in aviation certainly provided a spark. Her own love for aviation has grown significantly over time, and today she thinks back to what her dad tells her: adventure begins where plans end. She's about to be off to her own adventure alongside her husband, all the way down to Vance Air Force Base in Oklahoma, where she will train and learn to become an Air Force pilot. Cadet Cody Scholes hails from the renowned Det 400 Air Force officer producing town of Tomahawk, Wisconsin. He grew up alongside his sister Carly and his older, yet he would like to emphasize smaller brother, Lieutenant Caden Scholes, who for the next few minutes is still a sir to you. We'll just say that Cody loves sports-related activities. That includes ice hockey, football, baseball, skiing. He keeps the Army awake downstairs in the ROTC building by pumping iron day and night every day. He skips Air Force Live every week to perfect the art of jiu-jitsu. And any reputable Air Force officer, he's grown a huge affinity for golf. He came to the Michigan Tech with a full Air Force scholarship, but he knew very little of aviation and leadership. I'd say he's developed into a highly exceptional leader, leading from the front and striving for excellence in every category, even serving as cadet wing commander. Cody considered himself an average civil engineering student until he realized the Air Force ROTC could be a conduit for him to fly fighter jets. He's been aiming to fly Mach 2.2 ever since. After 5 long years in the program, he earned a pilot slot, and through his top performance, he has been selected to attend the Euro-NATO Joint Jet Pilot Training Program in North Texas. Let's just say he stands a good chance at an Air Force career as a fighter pilot. And lastly, Cadet Jonathan Willis. He spent time growing up in Chicago and the Tampa area, but he calls their little town of Republic in southwestern Missouri home. He is a physics student here at Michigan Tech, and that probably stemmed from a desire for most of his life to be a theoretical physicist with NASA. To get him out of a gym credit, he put one foot in the door with ROTC in high school. However, with strong mentorship of individuals such as Lieutenant Colonel Patrick Sanders and Chief Master Sergeant Kenneth Coyles and Mr. Jupp, he soon developed a passion for both service and aviation. Air Force ROTC was his solution as well. Here, he has developed into an exemplary leader, service in Arnold Air Society National Staff, and as Cadet Wing Commander this past semester. On the aviation front, he has done a flight school at the Air Force Academy, accumulated hundreds of hours of flight time, and even taught a brand new aviation ground school course to 46 students this semester here at Michigan Tech as part of his senior capstone physics project. Before I talk about where he's going in the Air Force, I want to mention who is joining him. His fiancée, Mackenzie, a nursing student down in Lansing, is here with us here tonight. They'll get married on May 16th next month. Cadet Willis has been selected for his dream job. He'll proceed to Vance Air Force Base in Oklahoma, where he'll train to become a pilot. He's hoping for F-22s, or maybe the new F-47, or who knows, maybe B-52s, we'll see. Sadly, this is my final commissioning ceremony here at Michigan Tech. As I move on to new horizons overseas, I'll say it's truly been the joy of my career, serving as your commander and witnessing young men and women like you and all of you out in the audience grow as leaders. I'm confident our nation's Air Force, Space Force, and Army are in good hands with you leading into the future. Congratulations, you earned this. Now it's making you officers.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga. We will now administer the oath of office to our Air Force commissionees. Cadet Franklin Cook will have his oath of office administered by his father, retired Chief Warrant Officer, 2nd Class Sean Cook, United States Army.
Raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Franklin Cook,
I, Franklin John Cook,
having been appointed a 2nd Lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
having been appointed a 2nd Lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
I will take this obligation freely,
that I will take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office for which I am about to enter.
the duties of the office for which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Cook will now pin on his new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Cook are his parents, Sean and Jill Cook, and his grandma, Lenore Cook. Lieutenant Cook graduates with a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Engineering. His Air Force specialty is pilot, and his new first assignment is yet to be determined. Lieutenant Cook will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Cook will exchange his first salute with Staff Sergeant Rodell Mowry, United States Air Force. Congratulations, Lieutenant Cook. Cadet Ezra Crandall will have his oath of office administered by Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Ezra James Crandall,
Having been appointed as, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental
or
reservation
purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Crandall will now pin on his new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Crandall are his parents, Brad and Monica Crandall, and his wife, Zoe Crandall. Lieutenant Crandall graduates summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. His Air Force specialty is developmental engineer, and he has been selected to attend the Air Force Institute of Technology at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio. Lieutenant Crandall will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Crandall will exchange his first salute with Airman First Class Salman Crandall. Congratulations, Lieutenant Crandall. Cadet Jack Diedrich will have his oath of office administered by Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga.
Right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Jack Diedrich,
Having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
do solemnly swear
swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Diedrich will now pin on his new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Diedrich are his parents, Craig and Jennifer Diedrich, and his brother, Colin Diedrich. Lieutenant Diedrich graduates magna cum laude with a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Science. His Air Force specialty is cyberspace warfare operations, and his first assignment is at Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Lieutenant Diedrich will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Diedrich will exchange his first salute with Staff Sergeant Rodell Mowry, United States Air Force. Congratulations, Lieutenant Diedrich. Cadet Shannon Matson will have her oath of office administered by Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Shannon Patricia Matson,
Having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Matson will now pin on her new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Matson are her parents, Daniel and Teresa Matson. Lieutenant Matson graduates summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Science degree in Social Sciences. Her Air Force specialty is Nuclear and Missile Operations Officer, and her first assignment is at Vandenberg Space Force Base, California. Lieutenant Matson will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Matson will exchange her first salute with her father, Master Sergeant Retired Daniel Matson, United States Army. Congratulations, Lieutenant Madsen. Cadet Karis Quante will have her oath of office administered by Lieutenant Colonel Mark Smith, United States Air Force, retired.
Right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Karis Elizabeth Quante,
Have been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force.
having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
That I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Quante will now pin on her new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Quante are her parents, Benjamin and Natalie Bronson, her brother Joel Bronson, her sister Alexandra Bronson, and her husband, Second Lieutenant Garrett Quante, United States Air Force. Lieutenant Quante graduates cum laude with a Bachelor of Science degree in Applied Ecology and Environmental Science. Her Air Force specialty is pilot, and her first assignment is at Vance Air Force Base, Oklahoma. Lieutenant Quante will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Quante will exchange her first salute with her grandfather, Sergeant Steve Bronson, United States Army, retired. Congratulations, Lieutenant Quante. Cadet Cody Scholes will have his oath of office administered by his brother, Second Lieutenant Caton Scholes.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Cody Joseph Scholes,
I've been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force.
having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic.
foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
That I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully
and I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of the office upon which I'm about to enter.
upon the office upon which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Scholes will now pin on his new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Scholes are his parents, Len and Carrie Scholes, and his sister, Carly Scholes. Lieutenant Scholes graduates summa cum laude with a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering. His Air Force specialty is pilot, and his first assignment is at Shepherd Air Force Base, Texas. Lieutenant Scholes will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Scholes will exchange his first salute with Senior Airman Trey Miller, United States Air Force. Congratulations, Lieutenant Scholes. Cadet Jonathan Willis will have his oath of office administered by Major David Jupp, who served in the United States Marine Corps.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your full name.
I, Jonathan Thomas Willis,
Have been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force.
having been appointed a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office
that I will and faithfully discharge the duties of the office
upon which I'm about to enter.
of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Second Lieutenant Willis will now pin on his new rank. Performing this honor for Second Lieutenant Willis are his parents, John and Lisa Willis, his fiancée, Mackenzie Gruzinga, and his future mother-in-law, Jennifer Dunn. Lieutenant Willis graduates cum laude with a Bachelor's of Science in Physics. His Air Force specialty is pilot, and his first assignment is at Vance Air Force Base, Oklahoma. Lieutenant Willis will now participate in the time-honored tradition of the first salute. Lieutenant Willis, will now exchange his first salute with Sergeant First Class Brandon Dunn, United States Army National Guard. Congratulations, Lieutenant Willis. At this time, Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga is proud to present the Distinguished Graduate Award. This award is given to the top 10% of Air Force ROTC graduates nationwide. It is presented to the senior cadet or cadets who have demonstrated the highest degree of excellent leadership, motivation, dedication, and officer potential. It is an award that remains in the officer's record throughout their career. Our distinguished graduate is Lieutenant Cody Scholes. This year, we were fortunate to have 2 lieutenants that will be recognized as distinguished graduates. Our next distinguished graduate is Lieutenant Jonathan Willis. Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Zuniga, and congratulations, Lieutenant Scholes and Lieutenant Willis. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you, for the first time, our nation's newest lieutenants. Please Please remain standing for the playing of the Army and Air Force songs. This concludes the ceremony. On behalf of the Michigan Tech Army and Air Force ROTC programs, I would like to thank you all for attending today's ceremony and invite you to celebrate with us in the lobby for refreshments. Please remain standing for the departure of the official party.